Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nature Talks podcast. Or welcome to the Nature Talks podcast if it's your first time. And today we have my friend Shruti here. How are you, Shruti?
I'm good, Verhaen.
Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Shruti is a very talented person. She's good at pottery. She plays the violin, and she's also an architect, right?
Yes.
We were going to have you play the violin today, but I think
Some other time.
the violin is not tuned right now. So you've been working on architecture, and now you've also studied about sustainable architecture, right?
Yes.
So you can tell us a brief idea about what is sustainable architecture.
Yes. So, architecture, at least when I studied it, was all about cement, concrete, bricks, fired bricks, let's say, and all the modern materials or all the commercial materials. And everything, I think, begins with marketing. So these are the materials we were essentially trained to build with.
Yeah.
And sustainability was just a subject that time. And I studied architecture from 2007 to 12. Now, of course, things are changing. So I think students these days have much more exposure to sustainability from the very start. But yeah, so sustainability itself was just a concept that, okay, you bring in, you just treat wastewater, you just plant some things, you build a green roof, and you make your building as sustainable as possible, you know, the sustainability ratings, and you try to get as many of those as possible and so on. But now how I see sustainable architecture after getting involved with mud architecture is that it's from the foundation to the roof. It's all about existing in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like being a part of it, being as natural as possible, whether it's in terms of materials, in terms of design, everything. So, yeah.
So you use the resources which are around the
Exactly. So in terms of resources, we try to use local materials as much as possible. Like carbon footprint and these things don't even come into question because you, of course, are already taking care of them. But apart from that, yes, in terms of materials, you try to build with something which comes from the ground, which goes to the ground, let's say.
Yeah.
We try to strengthen it using different methodologies and different ways and techniques because ultimately we want it to be durable.
Yeah.
There are a lot of myths also attached with it, which we can discuss. Yeah.
What kind of myths? You can
Yes.
tell us.
So, mud architecture, the myths are like there will be a lot of insects, there will be a lot of spiders, of course, and
What if it breaks down?
what if it breaks down, it's not strong enough, and then mold issues, mold, fungus, and all of those things. And some people even think that it will get washed down in rain. So basically,
because it's mud.
because it's mud. Yeah.
So then, how does it stay together?
Yes, so basically, we have been using mud in construction for ages, right? In traditional homes, we have mud. But what they do is they maintain it every year. You know, they'll do lipai and they'll use other, like cow dung is very good for coating mud, for example. So there have been these traditional practices which have existed for ages in our country at least, and many more countries too. But now I think we are just testing more because if I think about years back, people were still mixing cement in mud to strengthen it. But now as we advance, we figure out that, okay, actually things like cow dung, straw, these things can bind clay itself very well and very strongly. And you can just use a very strong plaster, which is, again, just essentially mud with lime, for example. So you plaster it in such a way, and of course mud building needs a good roofing. This is very essential. You can use a thatch roof. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be concrete slab or anything like that. It can be just a thatch roof, it can be just roof made of banana leaves, dried banana leaves, and people use all these local materials.
Like I've been seeing online, there are some people have built their family home out of mud completely, and they don't require air conditioning also.
Exactly.
And, they save so much money on that construction just by choosing the sustainable path.
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, and it even looks good. So
Yes,
that's what I was saying.
exactly. It looks like a hobbit's house or something. So such dreamy designs. But what you said is a very good point. So there's natural temperature control in a mud house. In winters, it's naturally warm, and in summers, it's naturally cool. And I have lived in a mud house so multiple times, and I can say that yes, this is very true. And one more thing additional to this is mud houses increase quality of life. Cement and paint and chemicals, we are surrounded by them. We have to really get into the depth of this to understand that we are actually exposing ourselves to these chemicals throughout the day. We live in these homes, and mud on the other side is a breathable material. So the
Plus
air quality is different.
cemented floors also we need to wash with like
Chemicals,
they use
yes.
harmful chemicals.
Yes, that's also very true. On the other side, if you have mud flooring or let's say wooden flooring or any natural flooring, you wouldn't have to use these harsh chemicals. I mean, wooden flooring you polish and once in a while, and you can use linseed oil, beeswax, these natural alternatives to polish, and they last very long. And similarly with mud, you can treat it with linseed oil, beeswax, and gives a very nice shine to it. And stone is of course very durable and hardly needs any maintenance.
Yeah. And so like you've been coming for our nature walks since some time, and we've been talking about Auroville also.
Yeah.
You've spent some time there. I've also spent some time there.
Yeah.
So did Auroville have any effect on your architecture course or career?
Actually, deep impact. So back, I went to Auroville for the first time in 2009 when I was in third year of my architecture. And seeing the buildings there, so I stayed in one accommodation which was entirely built of bamboo. Okay, bamboo and thatch roof.
Yeah.
Okay. So seeing all the natural buildings there, and of course they looked very nice, and I know that they were sustainable, and that's their key element, that most of them are sustainable. I'm not saying all of them are sustainable. The impact that it had was that I wanted to build like that. I didn't want to build concrete jungles anymore. So I sort of left architecture. In 2009 or 10 itself, I had decided I'll move to product design. I don't want to build anymore. I don't want to occupy any area on earth anymore with these horrendous buildings and so on. So it had a huge impact on me. I left architecture, mud architecture, and getting into it. It's something I've been thinking of getting into since very long, but then there's a lot of greenwashing in these things, just like sustainable green buildings and stadiums and so on. So I was always very wary of greenwashing. But now that I'm into it, I'm back to it, now I'm passionate about architecture again.
And so it's sort of interconnected with permaculture, right? What exactly is permaculture for the listeners?
Again, you'll find many definitions. For me, it's simply site planning and designing in sync with nature and ecosystem. So here we go beyond your house, your plot or your land which you have. And how should that be planned in the best way possible, that you live in harmony with nature, you incorporate the elements which are around you to the best possible way. And if there's a tree, of course, you don't cut the trees. We all know that. But again, what is the best place to plant new trees, for example? For example, if there's a traffic road, you may want a tree barrier there to avoid dust. And so it's about your quality of life also, but it's about, I think, the whole ecosystem around you. For example, ponds are encouraged instead of swimming pools and things like and fountains, for example.
And
So
if it's a sloping area, then
Yes.
you plant differently.
Yes, you plant differently, and how the watershed works, how rainwater harvesting can be done in the most efficient way, and how the natural contours of the land can be used
And all your
to the
grey
maximum.
water and your waste gets reused in the land.
Yeah, for example, I think banana circle, this concept came from permaculturists also. So basically, it's a way to treat grey water. So where your grey water is collected or your tank is, you plant trees around it, and it will just naturally treat grey water. You cannot eat those bananas, but it's just a natural way of treating grey water.
Yeah, and like how you were talking about traffic, and you would want trees to prevent the traffic and the dust and sound pollution.
Yeah.
And but here in Delhi, we see that new constructions coming up on the roads, they remove all the trees because I don't know. I think they want extra parking space, but then they get all the noise pollution, all the dust. Plus, all the outsiders can see inside your bedrooms.
Yes, you're.
You lose your
There's a
privacy.
natural shelter, let's say you have, and you're just killing it. You're killing it for yourself, and you're killing it for the creatures who actually call it home.
So, how can people start at home? Like, how can they start living a sustainable?
Yes, definitely.
Is there any DIY thing that they can do?
Yes, actually, you can start very small. For example, just changing the paint or plaster of your home. There's something called Vedic plaster and paint, and you can also make them using natural pigments yourself. Just use lime, mud, and just mix it with natural pigments. And of course, there are many more recipes, which I mean, I would like to give my contact, and people can contact me in case they want more about this. But yes, this is just one example of how you can start if you're sitting in an apartment. What can I do in my apartment? This is how you can start.
Yeah.
Instead of chemical paint, you're already living in, you might have increased quality of life by, I don't know how much percentage, but definitely by 5-10 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently you've been for these healing forest programs.
Yeah.
You want to tell us something about that? What did you learn over there? Maybe something to motivate people over here.
Yes, of course. And I think people might know Nitin Das. He's the one behind Forest Healing and Forest Healing Tribe. They also have a website where there's a lot of resources available.
He's a filmmaker. He's made some good movies on the forest. So, yeah, you've been going for the workshops.
Yes, so first it was a nature walk in Delhi actually, where I met Nitin and actually the other group also, because most of us which went for the retreat, we met on that walk. So it was about Shinrin Yoku. It's like a tongue twister for me. Shinrin Yoku, which is Shinrin is forest in Japanese, and Yoku is bathing.
Forest bathing.
Forest bathing. So he basically uses that as the core of his, I would say, ideology about how to be in a forest, how to interact with nature. And I'm just gonna sum up the walk and retreats, the retreat itself in this way that it was all about totally immersing in nature and following the 5 principles. The 5 principles are, let's see if I remember them, silence. So instead of going for a walk where we are talking and we are discussing things, no, this is all about silent communication with nature. And then slow. You walk as slow as possible, immersing everything around you, taking everything in. And third is senses. So you're taking everything in with all your senses.
Use our 5 senses to connect with nature.
Even taste. Like we would, of course, this has to be done under proper care, but if there are edible berries, for example, or edible plants around you, we would taste them. And so I would say, yes, all 5 senses count. And then 4th one is safety, because of course you have to be safe. So as I was saying, you cannot just eat any plant, for example, and be very careful of stinging nettle and things like that. So that is also important. And in the end, you share. You come together as a group. You have done all of this. You have immersed in nature in silence and let it heal you. There are different activities you can build around it, and after each activity we will just come around and share our experience.
So there are 5 S's.
Yes, 5 S's.
It's a good way to remember it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you have a gardening page also, right, on Instagram?
Yes.
What is that all about?
So that was more about indoor gardening and how people who have balconies can still have plants. But I was living in Germany that time, and balcony would mean very harsh climate for plants, and mainly it's winter, your plants wouldn't survive. So I was just looking for a way to build an indoor garden, an indoor space, a healthy space where I can still feel like I'm in nature. And because I'm into forest healing and I'm into nature, naturally I wanted it around me. More so when COVID happened, but I have been doing indoor gardening much before that. When COVID happened, then let's say the plant count went from 40, 50 to 120. So that's the jump that happened. But
And you have a community of
Yes.
plant lovers in there.
Yes. So we basically are into ornamental plants because, of course, you can't grow edible plants unless you're growing them under grow lights. So you can grow, of course, herbs and things like that inside. But it was mainly about ornamental plants, yet beneficial plants, and they do improve air quality. I think this is not something we need to debate on. They improve overall quality of life also. But what I would say was most healing for me in this was when I would propagate plants. So you don't have to spend a lot. I mean, in Europe, plants are very expensive, for example. In India also nowadays, you can see the prices of some plants are going up like crazy. So what I think is you need to just find a baby plant, nurture it, let it grow big, and finally you can propagate it and have multiple of those.
Yeah.
And I used to gift them and people used to love them. And I also built a greenhouse, shelf greenhouse for myself. Not for myself or my plants, but also for myself. And there I had all the tropical plants, which needed a lot of humidity, for example.
Oh, so it was a closed space.
It was a closed shelf with a thermostat and everything, and grow lights, and I had assembled it all by myself. And that actually taught me a lot because it was my stepping stone to greenhouse. Now if I will develop my own, it's my dream to have my own little greenhouse and have plants from, let's say, all over the country flourishing there in the right conditions. So I think it was a stepping stone to that.
So you can tell the listeners and the viewers about your Instagram page, how they can connect with you.
Yes, this one is A Tale of Two Plants, and I can leave it in comments.
We'll put it in the description section.
Okay.
Tale of Two Plants.
Yeah.
Right. So, even all these money plants we have here, they started by like 2 or 3 inch cuttings.
Yes.
And now they've grown like that.
And look at the roots, they're amazing.
They're growing on the podcast mic also.
Yes.
No, these are fake ones.
I know.
But now we've reached to the end of the podcast for today. We're going to have a whisper challenge. Let's see if this works out. Today we don't have a third person to help us with the chits. So we're going to use this NDNS brochure. One at a time we'll pick out a word and we'll try to whisper it to the other person. So have you done the whisper challenge before?
No. I only saw it in your podcasts.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You need to be good at reading a person's mouth or lips.
Let's try.
Okay, who's going first?
Why do I need to put this?
So you put this, I'm going to look at the word and I'll whisper the word, you have to guess it. Okay.
Too loud.
It has to be loud. Tree climbing. Tree climbing. 2 words.
2 words.
Tree.
First word.
Tree. Tree. First word is tree.
Can I have something instrumental playing to focus?
No, it has to be loud. Just read my mouth. What am I saying? Tree climbing.
I'm trying. Okay, go.
Tree climbing. Okay, second word.
Are you saying waste management? No.
Second word. Climbing. Climbing.
I lose.
Climbing. Guess what is it? Okay, first word. Tree.
No.
You give up.
I give up.
I was saying tree climbing.
Tree climbing, oh god. The tree. So climbing, I didn't get to it, but tree itself had me like, okay, what is this word? Okay, I feel
You end
very
up
bad.
saying you end up saying the things that are in your mind.
I know. I know.
Waste man. Okay. Now ready?
Yes.
Okay, start.
Monkey.
Say again.
Just one word, okay?
One word.
Monkey.
What's the word?
You
Bird.
give up? Monkey.
Birding.
Monkey. Monkey.
Birthday. Am I close?
There's no birthday in here.
Say it slowly.
Monkey.
No, I'm not getting it.
It's okay. We both lose. We both lose.
Try again.
Monkey.
It looks like birthday.
I know it does, but it's not.
Does it rhyme with birthday?
No.
Okay. What could it be?
Okay, fine, look.
Okay. Okay, I give up. What is it?
It was monkey.
Monkey.
Let's go one more round.
Nature walks.
Nature walk.
Yeah.
Really?
How did you
Yes.
get that? Yeah.
Yes.
How did you get that?
I don't know. I just. I think I got walk, and
Okay.
then nature. I just guessed.
So now you're in the lead. You've got 1 point. I've got 0 points.
Yay. Okay. Let me see.
Now my turn.
Workshops.
Workshops.
Oh yeah. How did you get it? It was that easy. Okay, second round was good for everybody.
Okay. So yeah, we'll just stop here. We've reached 23 minutes almost.
Okay.
So we've got a gift for you. This is a picture which I clicked in Ladakh. It's a rose finch.
In Ladakh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
We see it. We see it from far because it's like bright red.
I also
Okay.
collect NDNS bird badge
Badges.
buttons. Yeah.
Do you have? What do I have?
Which one do you have?
Oriental magpie robin.
I think I don't, so I'll take
So
it.
you add it to your
Thank
collection.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for coming on the show. How was your experience on the first podcast of your life?
How did you know it was the first podcast of my life?
I don't know, just guessing.
You're right. It was the first podcast of my life, and I think it was great. I felt very comfortable talking to you, and it was fun to talk about and reflect on all these years, actually. And it reminded me, first time we met was in Yamuna Biodiversity Park.
Yeah.
The walk,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, you were good at identifying the trees.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, it was. I think it was a challenge when you were asking me what is this called, what is that called, and there was some I didn't know.
I was giving you back the challenge with birds, right? What is that? Cormorant. I saw cormorants for the first time. It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So I think the listeners or viewers would have learned something new today,
Hope so.
hopefully.
Yes.
So let us know in the comment section maybe what you learned or if you have any feedback. And thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you again next time on the Nature Talks podcast. All right, bye. See you.
Bye.